The internet, starting point to the most widespread communication phenomenon in the world. At first using the now crude and ineffective dial-up connection that all came from telephone modems. As we've advanced these technologies, they would get better, faster, and stronger, leading more people to try out the World Wide Web. From the very first forums and meme websites birthed the majority of what we can claim as internet culture today. These websites include, and are certainly not limited to, Something Awful from 1999, E-Bomb's World that started in 2001, and 4chan in 2003. Before we get to the stars of the show, I would like to first bring up the technical first lolcow, at least from what I've gathered. From the primordial froth and ooze of the internet, Otis Eugene Ray, also referred to as just Gene Ray. Though surely not being the first person to be made fun of on the internet, but rather the first notable one people may still remember today. Ray was a pseudoscientist, and as much pseudoscientists do, he peddled unfounded theories and general misinformation around the laws of the universe itself. To speak loosely of what he believed, it was essentially that time was a cube and had 4 simultaneous days following one rotation on the Earth's axis, which he described as a cube. Look, I'm not going to get all the way into this. He basically believed that a cube also only had 4 sides because, quote, you don't call your floor and ceiling sides, do you? However, I believe I'm getting ahead of myself. As I mentioned, he was in an interview showing that he was fairly well known enough to grab this modicum of internet clout. So much so, he was even on more than just one interview, a couple if I may recall. I'll show a couple of these now.
Ever lives, Gene Ray. Welcome to the show, Gene.
Thank you, Martin.
So, Gene, you say that I'm stupid because I believe that when the Earth rotates once, there is only one 24-hour day, but your time cube principle disputes this, no?
Right. It has 4 corners. When it shines at midday, it simultaneously creates a midnight. Where the 2 majors join, it creates the 2 minors of sun up and sundown. And each corner quadrant of Earth rotates to its own separate 24-hour days.
Well, the Earth is a sphere, though. It's not a cube.
It's composed of 4 quadrant corners.
The self-proclaimed wisest man on Earth is sadly no longer with us, as he passed away at the age of 87 in 2015. What is worst is, it is allegedly claimed a psychiatrist had diagnosed him with schizophrenia. It is hard to tell how long he suffered with this illness, or if he even had it, because this information on him is hard to come by in reliable forms. His interviews and websites remain all left of his legacy. Here are some archived images of the website where he flaunted his timecube sign. There runs a theme around lolcows that Gene himself was involved in, and a few other notable traits that most lolcows will typically have. No self-awareness, arrogance, and, unfortunately, mental illness. Among several other traits that could be listed, these pertain to most, if not all, found on the World Wide Web. However, one such person would arise that would define the most important to internet lolcowdom. Enter Christina Weston Chandler, formerly Christian Weston Chandler. Hours upon hours of content exist covering the life of Christian, and quite frankly, right now we are not going to be going over the troll's exploitation over Chris and his life story. Instead, I would like this as a marker to where this era of the internet began. Let me take you back to 2007. The year's 2007. The iPhone was launched, and the worst mass shooting happened in modern U.S. history. And a Harry Potter book came out. People were really crazy over it.
I'm here for the Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows. We're gonna ask some people what they think of the book and why they're here. Let's go. So, what are you here for?
I'm here to collect my Harry Potter book and enjoy the celebration.
So, what are you dressed up as?
I'm Hedwig the Owl.
You haven't read the book yet, have you?
No, I have not.
Well, what if I were to tell you that Harry gets killed by Voldemort on page 704, but comes back?
Nice. Also, less importantly, but more importantly to the video subject, the term lolcow was coined on Urban Dictionary by user DreadSmile. Fast forward a few more years, it's 2009. The Quickie was made to document Chris Chan, as he would be the longest running lolcow of all time. Fast forward a bit more, 2013. Josh Moon, aka Null, a former admin for the Quickie, would create his own website under the name Kiwi Farms, a website renowned for people digging up dirt and drama on other people on the internet. Okay, rewind. Now, before Kiwi Farms, other websites were used for discussing lolcows. Encyclopedia Dramatica was one of these. Encyclopedia Dramatica was one of the first websites to really get under Chris's skin. As Encyclopedia Dramatica does, it has had several hyperbolized yet mostly true articles on lolcows, even articles based around people who have tried to take down ED for said unfavorable articles done on them. And just FYI, ED is shortened for Encyclopedia Dramatica. Just easier to say it like that. Several times some of the attempts to take down ED were unfortunately successful. Now, however, the website is still up and strong as ever. A little bit. Though in the current politics and other less interesting things of the world, it's hard to tell how long sites like Kiwi Farms, ED, and 4chan will remain around. Kiwi Farms has recently had a scare where an infamous internet personality Keffels would try to rally support to shut Kiwi Farms down. The website, though down for a while, managed to come back up, though with more hiccups than needed, and a lot of work still to be done. 4chan has had a few run-ins with shutdowns, but none that really broke them, though with the ever-increasing pressure from news and media outlets alike showing general disdain for the site, ultimately is a fate unknown as most. But personally, I don't think that 4chan will end for a long time coming. Times are no longer golden for the once wild web. Things have become more orderly, for the better or the worse depending on how you view it. The internet has since been tamed, though there will always be detractors, weirdos, and more all across the world, online or in person, of course. Chris Chan is an infinitely interesting topic, as she is probably the most documented person on the entire internet. What is worse about this is that no one took this information by force. She simply put it out there for all to see on purpose, hoping for what she would call a information overload. Which, yeah, that didn't work, not even a little. Chris is not the only one, though. Next, let me introduce ADF. ADF, plain Salida, if I'm saying that correctly, forgive me if I'm not, a DeviantArt artist and politically motivated activist. He was discovered around 2007 by 4chan after seeing his artwork of Sasuke from Naruto blowing the head off of John McCain, a popular right-wing figure who ran for president in 2008. As you can see by the clear level of animosity towards such a political figure, he definitely doesn't like the right, which is an understatement. So much so, in fact, that he romanticizes communism and his self-aligned claim as a socialist. As mentioned, he drew a picture of a Naruto character, and as such, he was a huge fan of popular anime Naruto. Unfortunately for him, weeaboos and anime enjoyers are not tolerated on 4chan and such websites alike. He created strange Naruto artwork, to say the least. The majority seem to be Naruto and politically themed situations, such as Naruto next to the Obama campaign logo saying, "Believe it." Among these artworks was also a strange obsession to a friend of his, Corrine, as he would draw her character, and her, I assume, favorite character Sakura from Naruto. In these pictures, they would typically be making out or crudely smushed onto each other. ADF would get into several other trolling fits, as he would constantly cosplay as either Sakura and Sasuke, and probably others. To go in tandem with my theory of what makes a lolcow, he also has been revealed to have the infamous Asperger's syndrome, a developmental disorder that can cause a lot of social and mental strain. As Chris had high-functioning autism and ADF with his Asperger's syndrome, it is not hard to understand the theme of low self-awareness and hardly picked up social cues that these two always had. These are the main reasons these people do get made fun of and exposed. As horrible as it is when you really think about it, someone in their personal life could have easily stepped in to help and stopped it all from happening. All of these posts and internet forums and threats and everything made for them could have easily been avoided if it were not for the tender care of a loved one or family member. The ambiguous moral justifications are strangely straightforward in the case of mocking most lolcows. It is important to note that most lolcows that have been provoked to no end usually do deserve it, though roughly through the beginning of the lolcow saga, it always usually begins with some form of trolling or worse. Issues usually come to light after trolls begin a campaign against one. In the case of Christian, again an extremely notable example, she had some real underlying issues and crude understandings on things. From being, I suppose you could say, unconsciously sexist? Maybe just sexist, to be completely honest. As well as a strange distaste for minorities, which sometimes trolls would trick her into saying certain things, but they probably did so out of mocking Christian for racist beliefs, outright in her face unbeknownst to him. Although it is up to the people themselves and their own beliefs rather than the lolcow's own beliefs, at least sometimes. For a rough example, think back on Jean Ray. If you may be so inclined to imagine a world full of people vehemently debating politics with no regard of livelihoods, which isn't so hard to believe right now, taking consideration Jean was targeted for not just his own shitty pseudoscience, but also for his seemingly kooky right-wing conspiracy theories. Do you know, no clue if he was right-winged, but atheists usually targeted such people and were a force on the internet. It's possible that anyone simply mentioning God in the past would make them ravenous. For a better example, take ADF, a pro-communist and pro-socialist weeaboo who was trolled relentlessly for his bizarre artwork, but probably also from a political aspect too. After all, Poe really loves making fun of people who are communist. Point being, sometimes trolls will attack personal beliefs rather than just a troll, which could be just as bad or not as bad depending on how you view it. Some lolcows are simply bastards though, some deserve little to no sympathy, but even for the worst, it's hard to truly feel no remorse for these people. Ultimately, humble viewers, the choice is yours to make how you feel, and no matter what you choose, note that humankind isn't inherently good or evil, though a couple of cases might prove a little otherwise. Ultimately, I'm still on the fence about the morality of trolling and the morality of lolcows, as things are not often black and white. Lolcows are a source of entertainment, and while morally it is right or wrong is up to you, it is undeniably hypnotic to see some of the crazy, disturbing stories centered around the lore of a lolcow. As I personally am one to enjoy a good dumpster fire, that aside, these people should not be messed with. They are still people at the end of the day and deal with various mental issues. People like Christian have been tormented endlessly and manipulated to do all kinds of horrible things most of her entire life. If some of these people could have gotten the help they deserved and needed, maybe things would not have ended up so bad for them. Or maybe it was always bound to happen. It is true that some people simply cannot live as others do. For now, this has been Poi. Thank you for watching, and remember, surf at your own risk.